What's going on, Perform24 family? Levi Jaeckel back with another video. Today is day 4 of Squatober. I did my lifts earlier, and now we're going to be talking about a topic that has kind of been circulating the gym over the last week or so. And that topic is kind of the cost benefit or the risk benefit of doing a highly specialized program like Squatober. Squatober is a highly specialized program. It's a month long, designed to improve one lift only, which is your barbell back squat. None of the other lifts, while they might improve, will improve because they're a byproduct of the training that we're going to be doing all month. Improving your squat is the only objective. Okay, so if you don't know who I am, like I said, my name is Levi, but I run a gym in South Tampa. I started the gym in 2014, and we work with pro athletes and then lifestyle athletes, okay? And I define lifestyle athletes as just individuals like myself that don't have a competitive season coming up, but they like to train hard and they're all about that life. So with that in mind, most of my programming honestly is pretty general. I rarely need to write highly specialized programs. Most of my programming tries to blend two dynamics together into one. So if you're thinking about an athlete, on one hand, we want to make sure that they are maximizing the potential power and the potential strength that they have in their body while they're in their competitive sport, whether that's baseball or basketball or football or whatever. But then we also need to look at their career from a longevity standpoint. So we kind of have like these short-term dynamics where we got to maximize the here and now so you can have a successful season now. But then we also need to kind of take in like what is going to be happening into your career 4, 5, 6 years down the road. And so we're kind of always balancing, the cost benefit of highlighting now and also planning for the future. And then those programming themes obviously translate very well to my local adult population as well, and the lifestyle athletes there. Very rarely do I have to write a highly specialized program because a specialized program is only focused on the here and now. And yes, sometimes those programs can produce amazing results, but if you stick on that program for too long, either one, you're going to neglect something that you also need, or two, heaven forbid you do train that specialized way so hard that you do get injured. The body is a dynamic and it is a well-rounded machine. And so you kind of need to feed this machine with a well-rounded program. Getting super niched for too long, too hard, usually results in a bad outcome. So if you are a competitive athlete, most likely you're not going to be going through like a really specialized training program. The only exception might be if you're coming off of injury and you have to get that injury fixed. But now we're kind of talking about rehab and we're not necessarily talking about training. So, the lines start to get blurred from that side as well. But, I have worked with athletes that are like, look, like I'm fine as long as like my knee holds up throughout the season. Okay, so your off-season program really needs to highlight that knee, and this knee really needs to be healthy and it really needs to be strong. Okay, so we're going to emphasize that throughout the whole off-season. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a specialized program, but it's a very highly and specific goal that we are kind of working around and building everything around along the way. So most of the time, an athlete, if they do have something special going on, is due to an injury, not necessarily chasing like a power goal or a strength goal. You might chase a strength goal in the gym, which feels great, and it is awesome, and it is a big ego boost and confidence boost and everything. But unless it translates directly to what you're doing on the field, then why are you chasing this big strength goal in the gym? There has to be a direct correlation there. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But those are all things that we have to consider. The rest of us lifestyle athletes, specialized programs kind of play a little bit of a different role, and we have to consider different things, right? So we don't necessarily have a competitive season that's coming up that we have to be ready for. Our career doesn't necessarily depend on how we can physically perform. It's just something that we enjoy doing. And because of that, a program like Squatober might actually be fine to do every once in a while. Most of my programming, even for myself now here talking about myself, most of my own personal training is pretty general throughout the year. Of course, I fluctuate in and out of phases every 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. I'm fluctuating into phases that might highlight a specific theme or dial in on a specific objective for that phase, but then we move out of that objective and move into a new thing. And so, over the course of a 6, 7, 8 month training block, I'm kind of getting a little bit of everything. The exception being Squatober. So we already talked in a previous video about why I'm doing Squatober, so we don't need to rehash that. However, a specialized program could be really beneficial in certain situations. One, it's going to challenge you and get you way outside of the sandbox that you usually play in, which I think that in general is a great thing to do. Try something new, get challenged in a new way, both physically and mentally, because you never know when you're going to rise to that occasion. And if you rise to the occasion that the specialized program provides you, then all of a sudden you're hitting numbers that you didn't know that you could make, or that you didn't think you could make. So because we don't have a hard deadline like the start of a season coming up, we can kind of dial in and use just completing the challenge and checking that box as our objective. So that's what makes something like Squatober fun. We have a 4-week competition, whether it is with friends or if it's just with ourselves, where we can sit here and compete against the barbell for 4 weeks, and that's kind of like the highlight of our year. So if you think of Squatober like that being your competitive season, like, all right, now it's worth spending 4 weeks doing. To wrap this whole thing up, specialized programs can be beneficial, right? It can force you to make changes that you might otherwise not have made, but you got to know going into this that if you spend too much time in that specialization, at some point you're going to get diminished returns. So at some point either your numbers are going to stop going up and you're going to plateau, or you're going to get injured. So there's a time and a place, which for us, we're in that time and place, so we're enjoying the challenge that Squatober presents us. But as soon as November 1st comes along, we're going to leave that where it is and kind of return back to a normal, well-balanced training program. So this is another thing that is worth mentioning. Sometimes like Kelly Starrett will put out like a 10-day shoulder mobility challenge or something like that. That's a pretty specialized program. Again, it's for a certain amount of timeline, so it's 10 days of, specific work. But then what you can do is once you finish that program, now all of a sudden you might have some new tools in your toolbox to use down the road. So sometimes a specialized program will teach you something that then applies to a more general program sometime down the road, which might mean you don't need a specialized program down the road because that isn't an issue for you anymore or something like that. So there is a lot of benefit to following a specialized program, as long as you kind of take those nuggets, take those challenges for what they're worth, capture them, capitalize on them in the moment, and then kind of leave them to the side. Because I do think that like a general well-balanced program is going to be most beneficial for most people in most circumstances. If you guys have any thoughts on this topic, I would love to hear them. Either leave me a comment below or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm pretty active on both platforms. So, please let me know what your thoughts are on specialized training programs. All right, that's going to wrap up today's video. As always, train hard, live full, and I will see you tomorrow.